Instant gratification. In this day and age, our kids want everything now. Kids often see the moment, but we as parents must help them see the future. Our biggest mistakes as parents is that we're thinking that love looks like immediate access, and it doesn't. When we tell them to wait, of course, they take it as we don't care, it's unfair, we're holding them back. There are reasons why we wait to give our children certain things. Of course, phones, I truly feel that you should be a responsible young human to have a phone because it's a lot of access these days. And we all know that. We notice as far as mentoring that it's some kids that have phones at the age of 5. And of course, that's debatable on whatever you think it is as a parent yourself. My eldest child actually, again, 2 households, he actually had a phone at a young age as well. I didn't necessarily agree with it. Do we think or no, it's in a distraction? Absolutely. In my personal opinion, I think it's a distraction. But we have to put up guardrails for our kids in making sure they understand that they can't have access to everything. And to get them to understand, it's not a punishment, it's preparation. That's the big picture of it. When our kids ask us for certain things, especially phones, or certain things they want access to when they just don't know yet. They have young minds and they don't understand. It's not a punishment, it's preparation. And it shows it doesn't hand you everything on demand, which life don't. Whereas as we get older, we definitely all understand that being older, that everything doesn't happen on demand. And we have to show and develop our kids a tolerance of patience. And that's been a tough thing, of course, for all of us as parents, I'm certain, when you have everything pretty much at your fingertips. We must keep our kids from struggling from the 3 Ps, which is process, pressure, and perseverance. Of course, understanding that process, as we just discussed, of why you shouldn't have certain things, of course, at a certain age, the pressure of today's society, of course, with these kids being on social media, they seeing everything. It's a lot of pressure because, of course, they feel like they should have it because they see other kids, and it's not even in a close proximity, but other kids that's on social media, not necessarily the kids that they know personally, but social media, and of course, the perseverance of them working hard for something or working hard towards something, and the patient side of it. And we, as parents, I feel we don't do a good enough job at that. So that's why we're going to discuss some ways we can share with one another to help with this instant gratification world we live in. Our kids are growing up in a world of instant everything. Entertainment, of course, they can access that. It's very accessible on their cell phones, right at their fingertips, or iPad for our younger kids. Food, of course. What is it? DoorDash. That's it's crazy. I still haven't used DoorDash to this day. I know I'm a little bit behind in the times. That's what they're using, and it's instant. They just order what they want, and they send it to them, and voila. Entertainment piece of that as well. I just touched on that as far as with the phone and iPad, reviewing concerts, shows, uh, it's so much in their hands and at their fingertips. So it's just tough in the world. Of course, us growing up in the 1900s or before is a little different, of course, but times have changed. Even answers to get results. If you want fast results, all you have to do is hop on the phone and get the fast results. Chat GPT, of course, we've used that, of course, now as adults to our advantage. Even shopping, you want to buy clothes, Amazon. You just look on Amazon right at your fingertips. So you can get it delivered, of course, after you order it, delivered right to your door. In this world of instant everything, how do we teach our kids about the process and about being patient? Um, it's very challenging at this time. We have to scale back by creating limits and guardrails. That's how we bridge that gap and get to our youth and our kids, because too much access without discipline creates entitlement. I know as far as me and my kids, I never want that. Some of us as parents are guilty accidentally. And that's because we strengthen instant gratification to avoid kids from complaining, from conflict, from our kids whining. So keep that in mind. Limit access or firmly tell them no. A lot of us as parents, we're afraid or we're hesitant and reluctant sometimes on telling our kids no. Tell them to wait, be patient. As parents, we have to get better at. It's okay to tell our kids, I'm not saying no forever. It's a no right now. Just to get them to understand why we're saying no. Of course, we should explain that. We should articulate that with our kids. But always a good thing to make sure they understand that you're not saying no forever. There's nothing wrong, again, with telling our kids no for right now. We're going to develop and build a tolerance of them understanding what patience is and what it looks like. I always, when I mentor youth, even with my kids, especially my eldest, I always discuss or put into perspective of what if we as young 16, 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds had millions of dollars with no guardrails, what would we be right now? Think about it. And as an adult, so let's put that in perspective. Where would we be right now? A lot of us would probably have drug addictions, just being honest. Probably have multiple kids. Of course, fake friends, because there a lot of kids or other people would be there for the money. We just wouldn't be wise. We wouldn't make wise decisions. So a lot of times when I explain to my oldest son now, I and my youngest, I let them know at times that you just don't have the maturity and the mindset to have millions of dollars. And it's funny when you ask kids, so if you had millions right now, what would you do? And of course, the first thing they're going to do, majority of them, oh, I'm going to get the Hellcat. I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, just stuff that's just not mature or responsible for the most part. You do have kids that will do smart things. Well, they say they would do smart things, but it's different doing it and saying it. And it's different when you actually have it. So I think a lot of times we just got to count our blessings, man. We want it now. Of course, even when we were younger, we wanted it now. Didn't truly understand why we don't have it now, and the wisdom that comes with it that makes us make better decisions and more rational decisions. So it's really good, a perspective to put on them and to ask them, of course, what would they do with millions of dollars at the young age? Because I'm telling you, especially in this day and age, when everything is so accessible to you, a lot of kids will probably drown because they just don't have the mentality and the mindset um, to be responsible and to think, clearly, and it would just be a disaster. I'm almost certain of that. And we know that as well, because when we were younger, like I said, 16, 17, 18, with millions of dollars, ain't no telling how we would have ended up. And that's just the honest truth. We just being real. So we got to count our blessings and make sure our kids know that everything happens for a reason. Freedom without wisdom creates bad decisions. And that's a fact, y'all. I also always pose the question is, who wants to be famous? And again, majority of kids' hands raised. Of course, when I was younger, we all wanted to be famous. We all want to be, in that spotlight. But when you put it in perspective, how many of us really can handle that being famous? And this is what I also share with the kids. Imagine being a Michael Jordan, a Michael Jackson. Who else is super big out there? What's a big name? Guess now Billie Eilish for the youth. Drake. Imagine that. Like, think about it. To me, my solace, my peace is everything. When you become famous, that piece is out the window. All of that's gone. You know, it's a wrap. And we tend to forget that, and we don't think about it. Because imagine going out with your family, imagine spending time with your kids, and someone always wants to come up to you to take a picture. You always got to smile. You got to put on that facade. And that comes with territory of being famous. And when you think about it, some of us may be famous, And of course, we're older. We know how to handle it a little better now. But it's just reality. Like, would you really want to endure that on a daily basis? And how would you handle that? Something to think about. And even explaining to your kids, is that something that, you think you can handle and that you think you're ready for? And then I asked them the question, what's the average age of a millionaire? And majority of them don't know. Some would say 20s, some would say, even 30s, but none of them really get to the 40s, late 40s, 50s. And then I'm asking why. Why do you think that, it took them that long to become millionaires? And they start to see that with better rationale, better maturity, um, that people know how to use and work their money instead of blowing it on just frivolous things. With wisdom, of course, learning how to invest, learning where to put your money, that makes the world of a difference. So now we'll discuss the most common wants from kids. Of course, it's money, video games, something they love. They see it as not being earned because they think, I see it and I want to get it. Shoes. Kids want the latest. Social media makes everything popular. They feel embarrassed when they don't have it. That's the mindset of a lot of these kids now. And just showing them styles change, and you got to have discipline and character, which lasts long. You get a shoe, it's going to be hot for what, a month or two, if that, and then it's on to the next. So keeping up with the Joneses, keeping up with everybody else can be very difficult at times, especially when you spend your own money. So they don't understand it when we pay for it and we spend it. But when they get older, of course, and we can all attest it as adults, when we got older and we had to pay for our own things, you start to think a little bit and you start putting things in perspective. But is it me too? I've always asked this question as well. And tell me what you guys think. And I'm not speaking for everybody, for all the people I grew up with. I'm sure you guys as well. But does it seem that all the kids who had the nice stuff, the nice Jordans, the kids, spoiled kids, they didn't really turn out to be successful when they became adults? I'm just being honest. And I'm not saying all. I do know, of course, some successful kids who I felt was spoiled and had everything. Of course, they had strict parents. I think that helped as well. Our parents that definitely had guardrails. You can see that now in them because their qualities in life and some of the things that they're doing and their mindset and mentality still, they're successful. But a lot of kids I grew up with, that the kids you just seen with everything and had it made, you look at them now, you're like, damn. Like I said, we have to teach our kids, instant gratification is not for right now. You need to be patient. You need to wait. And that's a testament as well. I always tell my kids, some of the kids I grew up with who had everything didn't really pan out to be successful as adults. Of course, cell phones. They think they're old after 1 year, after the new one come out. Everybody has the new one, so of course they want the new phone. But it hit different when you paying for your phone yourself. You start to learn, of course, when you get older. But these kids, they just don't understand. They want the latest ones, and we have to show them to take care of the ones they have now in order to be able to receive something new. Because a lot of kids that play these games, they'll break them or say something's wrong so they can get a new phone. And I definitely don't play that in my household. So quitting when things get hard. A lot of our youth quit when things get hard. And that's dealing with sports, piano lessons, reading, homework. I'm a huge believer in let them figure it out themselves. We can help, but it takes away their critical thinking. And I know my son has it bad because, he'll go, Mom, I don't understand this. And I kind of get on her sometimes, like, babe, let him read that and really digest it and figure it out. And spend some time on it because we're not going to be there all the time. When they're taking tests in class or when they're doing projects in class, we're not going to be there to say, oh, okay, well, you got to do X, Y, and Z. You got to put this with this. No, you got to let them figure it out. When I help my son, I'm going to make sure he reads it and digests. I also tell him, hey, go back to and read instructions prior to this, because sometimes that gives him hints as well. Same things with sports. If you don't put in the work, you're not going to get results. And a lot of kids don't see that. They'll watch TV, they'll play 2K, and think that that's going to help them grow as an athlete and help them get better. Absolutely not. If you're not putting in the work in these sports, you're not going to grow, point blank, period. So we're showing our kids that stuff don't happen overnight. Rome wasn't built in a day. You have to make sure you put in the work and be patient and then see the fruit of your labor. And a lot of kids, of course, they still don't understand. They don't get that. As a parent, personally, my kids can't quit nothing. If they start it, they have to see it through. They have to see it through, especially when I'm putting my money in it. They gotta see it through. I don't care what's going on, work through it. Because if we let them walk away when it gets tough, they learn to chase comfort. And we're not doing that over here in my household. You got to see it through. And just it's just a thing with keeping them committed, keeping them committed, seeing it through. And of course, that builds character as well. As parents, we must limit fast rewards for little effort. How I manage that, of course, in my household with my eldest son. If he don't do his chores, he don't get no allowance. Point blank. Period. I don't ask him. That's more money I can save. I don't ask him, and he knows. I don't ask him. I don't bother him. The dishes he got to do though. Of course, we don't let them stack up. I don't ask him. He knows now, and it teaches them responsibility. If I don't work, I don't eat. If I don't work, I don't get paid. And that's the same thing as an adult. It equates to the adult life. If you don't work, you don't get paid. So as parents, we definitely need to use that a lot more. Of course, a lot of these kids now, they just think every time allowance coming around, whatever your day is, they think that, oh, I'm just going to get paid. I'm going to get a couple dollars. Absolutely not. Not in this household. Staying up late. There's consequences of that. Of the next day. You stay up late, you're going to be tired the next day. It's going to be hard to function. So we got to drive that home with kids. And let's get into some of the best things that we can do. Some roadmaps we can get on our kids and paint that picture for them to better explain the instant gratification and how it can affect them in the long run. Patience. We've been talking about that the whole vlog. It teaches them gratitude when they earn it. It definitely teaches them gratitude when they earn it. Also, it teaches responsibility. It teaches discipline. It teaches maturity, wisdom, of course, and self-control. These are all things that they're going to have to learn, transition to that adulthood anyway. We can say as adults, I'm not against you. I'm building you. It's nothing wrong with that. I found out mentoring that a lot of parents, I don't understand it. They have an issue with telling their kids no or telling them, hey, maybe later, or you need to be patient. It's not rejection, it's preparation. Putting it in those terms as well can put it in perspective for the kids and those things they need to know. The kids also need to learn effort before reward and patience before possession. Also gratitude before entitlement. They need to know to be appreciative of some of the things that they have. I tell my sons, both of them at times, like, y'all gotta look around. It's a lot of kids out there that don't have. It's always somebody in a worse situation that you are in. So you got to be grateful. And some of the things that they forget. So we have to remind them. We have to teach also the kids' wants versus needs. A lot of kids don't understand that as well. No, you want the Jordans. You don't need them. You want that new video game. You don't need it. And it's just showing them that everything isn't right now. So very important. The wants, we have to teach them the wants versus the needs. If you don't perform in my household, you get the bare minimum. Very simple. As parents, we have to set the standard. That's definitely a standard in my household. We must also stop answering everything quickly. Kids don't have to have an answer right now. If I tell my son, hey, let me think about it, I get back with you. They know that's what it is. They're not going to keep bothering me. They're not going to keep texting me throughout the day. If I tell you, hold on. If I tell you, stand by, stand by. But we have to stop answering those quick yeses in the world for the instant everything. Also, talk through the why of how waiting helps our kids. So building self-control, self-confidence, the emotional regulation is going to help with the trust, of course, problem solving, the critical thinking, as well as perseverance. So these are some of the things that we should be explaining to them that in talking through why they should wait. I like to end with a quote. We are not always withholding something from them. Sometimes we are building something in them. Another one I'll leave you guys with: patience is not punishment, it's preparation. I want to end with teach your kids how to earn more and expect less. Help our kids think past the day. Sometimes they just want that instant. We shouldn't raise children who just know how to ask. We need to raise our children on how to wait, work, and grow. Please share with somebody and comment, you guys. You guys have any suggestions, comments? As I always say, it's no manual. Every child is different, and we're here to learn together and grow together. And I see you guys on the next one. Peace.